Good afternoon. Welcome to CES 2024. My name is Eric Mintz, and I'm part of the Mitsubishi Electric Innovation Center. I'm dedicated to this product called AnyMile, and I'm in charge of what we call mobility infrastructure. I report to Zafar Sahanaglu, who's the GM of the business unit and really the visionary for this product. This is a really fun presentation, mostly because it's a lot of big pictures. But what I will try to convey to you is the many societal benefits that will come from the drone industry and how AnyMile fits nicely within Mitsubishi Electric's realization of a vibrant and sustainable society. Okay, so let's just jump in. So when we say the word drone, oftentimes we have this mental model of a small quadcopter, right? The little toys. The kind of things that we're involved with are much larger. On my right here, right, these vehicles can have a wingspan of 20 feet, right? They carry large payloads, longer distances, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger over time. This bottom picture is from a company called Mighty Fly, and Mighty Fly is here with us at the booth, so you're welcome to come talk with them. On my left, that top picture is of a larger quadcopter. And at the end of the presentation, I'm going to show you a really cool video of that. But that middle vehicle is an emerging vehicle technology by a company called Speeder Systems. And Speeder Systems is also with us at the booth, so you can talk to them. Now, the Speeder itself is what's called an amphibious vehicle, because it can land on the water, but it can also take off and land just like a regular drone. And throughout this presentation, more toward the end, I'm going to give you examples of just-in-time operations. So this nice picture of the industry is from 2015. It's by a market research company called Drone Industry Insights. And this is what the industry looked like in 2015. There was about 300 companies here. Not an exhaustive list, but pretty complete. So let's look at what happened post-COVID, 2022. Almost 1,100 companies. And you'll notice that it's nicely segmented into hardware, software, and services. You know what other industry that looks like this? The personal computer. And so it shouldn't be a surprise that the drone industry behaves more like the personal computer industry than it does in the industry of aviation, because a drone is really a computer that flies. But I wanted you to see the kind of scale that we're dealing with. Now let me give you some fun predictions. And this first one was on CNN 3 days ago. They just had the source cited incorrectly. NASA did a study that said by 2030, there's going to be 500 million drone package deliveries a year. That's almost 1.4 million packages delivered a day. They also said that there'll be up to 750 million air taxis in a given year. So it's feeling like this whole Jetsons thing is probably going to come to fruition. Some other experts stated that in 10 years, there will be 65,000 takeoff and landings of drones per hour. Today, the busiest airport can manage about 300 commercial landings and takeoffs, right? So this is enormous scale. Now, whether the mission involves an inspection of infrastructure, delivering a package, maybe it's medical supplies, all of these resources play a role in that mission. It could be 1 mission a day, it could be 1,000 a day, it could be 1,000,000 a day. These are the essential elements to make it all work. When you start to scale up beyond 1 mission a day, you have a very quick realization that you bump into a bunch of logistical obstacles. The first one being is that you have to optimize the use of very limited resources. Secondly, you have to coordinate the movements of packages, information, solutions, services, right, across to and from locations, people, and businesses. And lastly, a lot of these resources have dedicated technologies, sophisticated technologies, and they all have to be interoperable. They've got to communicate with each other, right? So this is an enormous challenge. Even just think about how complicated one mission is, because all this has to be coordinated. You could think of a mission as really kind of a symphony, and all these associated elements are the musicians. And like every symphony, you need a conductor to orchestrate the operations. So I give you AnyMile, an operational coordination platform where we are the connective tissue of this ecosystem. We're effectively integrators. It's almost like an ERP system, but for drone-based logistics. Now, when we go to market, let's say we approach a potential customer, or we respond to an RFP, or we apply for a grant, there's always a specific AnyMile consortium that we put together based on that use case. This is a simple one for onshore, offshore delivery. And you'll see that top layer is the hardware. You've got the different vehicles involved. It requires drone infrastructure, vertiports, vertipads. That middle layer is the software layer, right? These things get integrated directly or indirectly into AnyMile. For instance, right out of the box, we've integrated with OneSky. We have a UTM, which is a traffic management system for drones. And that bottom layer are the services. In any of these missions, there's always a fleet operator. These are the companies that specialize in aviation. They have the know-how to fly the missions. They bring the pilots. They tend to be experts on the actual vehicles. And there's always an entity to help us with the regulations, whether it be certifications or waivers. So again, this is kind of a sample AnyMile consortium based on the use case. So AnyMile is really an end-to-end software platform for managing drone-based logistics. Again, we are that orchestration layer for all the work orders, the fleet operations, all the services that go with drones. And we integrate a lot of these technologies, either directly or indirectly, into AnyMile. And as an additional benefit, and I think we just had a press release that went out today about AnyMile in the marketplace, we give drone manufacturers a place where they can promote their vehicles, kind of like the current state of the art. This is a free service we provide. Now, this isn't the complete platform of the AnyMile applications, but this is just the core. So the shipment management application that's where a customer may put in their work order to have something shipped. And that spins up a mission inside a fleet. And the fleet application has to pair the right vehicle to carry the right package along the right route a certain distance, right? So it's got to have knowledge of the drone. And then the services application manages a variety of services that are required for a drone, including third-party services. Maybe a shipper wants to insure their package when it's being delivered. Now, a manufacturer will load in their performance and capabilities into AnyMile so we understand all that data and how to do the pairing, how to optimize the use of a drone. And then we give them this ability to push it into the marketplace. And that's a place, again, where we showcase the current state of the art for anyone that wants to see what's going on in terms of the vehicles. So there are so many use cases that we looked at. These were sort of the top use cases. And really where we landed was around cargo delivery. Now, delivery is bifurcated into two pieces. There's B2B, which is where we play, and then there's B2C, more delivering to consumers like Amazon or Google Wing. We are firmly in the B2B category. And cargo delivery, obviously, is where our focus is. Disaster management has a real cargo delivery component to it. And then this last one, this aerial advertising thing, I'm going to talk about at the end, but it's a very specialized use case. And then we're kind of dipping our toe into infrastructure. We're applying for a grant to do dam inspections because there's a real good fit for AnyMile in terms of orchestrating those operations. But again, our focus is really around cargo delivery. So I'm going to give you a couple use cases. And I have very limited time, so I'm just going to give you the highlights. But this is about delivering cargo onshore to offshore assets like oil rigs, or between the assets, between the rigs. The way that stuff is moved from onshore to offshore is with slow boats or helicopters. And helicopters are really very expensive and very complicated to maintain. There's a lot of inefficiencies associated with helicopters. If you have to move a small part, it's very expensive to do that. If you have to move that small part at night, it's 3 times the cost. And it turns out when you're flying over water with a helicopter at night, it's very dangerous because you can't distinguish the water from the horizon. You have to deal with microweather. You have to deal with bird strikes. Drones are really made for this kind of activity. Next is hospital networks. This is shocking. In some of these larger hospital networks, they carry up to $1 billion of excess inventory every year, just in case something happens. Can you imagine that? What could they do with that money if they could go from just in case to just-in-time operations? They could dramatically have a lot of cost savings to be able to move those supplies around. Disaster management, so wildfires. Wildfires is just dangerous for everyone involved. Now, while drones can't really yet get to the size of some of these bigger aircraft, they really play a very complementary role for wildfires. Think of a firefighter that carries 40 to 100 pounds up a large hill. Well, now you get a drone just to move that equipment up the hill. Oftentimes, fires will reignite days or weeks after it's been put out. And that's because no one can see through the naked eye what's going on with the subsurface. So you can strap all kinds of really cool technologies to a drone to monitor and evaluate the subsoil to understand what's going on. So drones play a great role in firefighting. And where AnyMile comes in is that operational coordination of both crewed and uncrewed aircraft so everyone can act safely and fight these fires. And this is my favorite one. This is called aerial advertising. So I'm going to run this video here for you. So I was at a drone event in 2022, and I bumped into an entrepreneur that had this crazy idea in South Florida. He said, you know, why don't we pull a banner with a drone instead of a plane? And you know what his biggest concern was? How am I going to manage the operations of doing this, right? So AnyMile became a really good fit for this use case. Now, what's not obvious is that when you fly a plane to carry a banner, it's actually a very unsafe activity because a pilot has to take the plane and they have to do a nosedive and they have a tail hook that has to hook on to the banner. And oftentimes they miss, and sometimes when they miss, the outcome is bad, right? So drones can do this much more effectively, much more efficiently, bring down the costs, and it's much safer. I love this video. And again, that was a Valeri drone. Okay, that concludes my little presentation. Thank you for coming out. I hope you'll come over to the booth at AnyMile and enjoy the rest of your conference.